Hello students of grade 3. I hope all of you are doing well and keeping fine. This is your mentor, Miss Anili, and I will be taking your English for this session. As for today's class, we will talk on the topic of blurb from the unit 4 entitled Just Imagine. I'm sure this is a topic new to everyone, but by the end of the class, I hope that we will have a clear understanding of the topic. Now, before we start with the class, I want to ask you all a question. How do you usually buy a book when you go to a bookstore or when you go to a library to read? Do you just choose the book because the cover looks pretty, or do you just randomly choose the book? I'm sure this is something that's very difficult because we already have so many variety of books to choose from. We have folk tales, fairy tales, which are about princesses, then we have about Prince Charming, etc. Then we also have about fantasy, where it's all about imaginary land, something which is not real. But then we also have science fiction, where it's all about science and technology, robots, and all about the future. Or sometimes you may be interested to read poems from poetry book, where we have all different kind of topics written by different poets. Now, when we have this many different topics, I'm sure it can get pretty confusing for you to choose the right book. Maybe you might find the book very pretty and you might decide to read. But by the end of you reading the book, almost when you reach the half portion of it, you might think that you just wasted your time because that was something not which you wanted to read. Because there's a saying that goes, do not judge a book by its cover. No matter how pretty it must be, when you read inside and when you come to a half of it, you might realize that you have just wasted your time. Now, that's when the purpose and the value of blurb becomes meaningful. For example, I have this book. I'll give you this example so that you can have a better and clearer understanding. Now, this book is written by Roald Dahl. It is entitled The Tweets. Now, at the back, we have a write-up which is written by the author. Now, I will read this in order for you to have a clear understanding. The Tweets. Mr. and Mrs. Tweet are really disgusting. They smell because they never wash, they fight because they play tricks on each other, and they hate children. But worst of all, they keep monkeys in their back garden, in cages. It's time for the monkeys to get their revenge on these two most revolting creatures. Now, this is what is called a blurb. Now, I do not know what the book is all about. I did not read it inside. But just by reading this write-up, now I have an idea that this book will be about a couple, Mrs. Tweet, Mr. and Mrs. Tweet, and it is about them being very dirty. They do not usually wash, and another fact is mentioned that they hate children. But now, above all of those, there's one thing that's very bad about them, is that they've locked up monkeys in cages. Now, it ended with an ellipsis that is 3 full stops at the end. Now, that is a suspense that is left for us to find out about these monkeys who are deciding and plotting against these two couple to take revenge against them. Now, I'm curious to find out how are they going to take revenge against this couple. So, that's how blurb becomes meaningful. Why? Because without me having to read the book, now I have an understanding of what the book is going to be about. Now, when we have so many varieties to choose from, now this blurb is helping me to know what I want to read, to choose the right book. Blurb is also like an advertisement for the book. Like for example, we see advertisement in the TVs, where we see all different companies trying to sell their product by giving out details about its benefit. Just say for example, cosmetic products. They give us details about the ingredients used inside the product. Now, as a consumer, it is important for me to know what the product has. That's helping me to decide on what product I want to use. Likewise, even blurbs it's like an advertisement that's helping me to choose the right book. And it's also helping me save time. Both the advertisement that you see in the TV and the book have the same aim, that is to help the readers get in simple terms. If you have to understand what a good blurb is, it is about blurb being a short description of the story. It does not give us the whole storyline, but just a short description. Secondly, we should know, or it helps us to know more about it without spelling out the whole concept of the story. Thirdly, it aims to get the reader interested to buy or read the book. Now, to make it even more clear, where can one find this blurb? Here are some few examples for you to understand where we can find the blurbs. Now, blurbs are usually found at the back of the book along with the author's name. Now that we have a clear understanding of what a good blurb is, say supposedly you are asked to write your own storybook. What are the tips that you must remember in order to write a good blurb? Let's discuss furthermore. Firstly, make sure to keep your blurb short and simple. Generally, 100 to 150 words is more than enough for you to write a good blurb. Secondly, make a good first line impression because firstly, the readers will read your first line. Remember to give it a good start. Thirdly, make use of a question mark or 3 full stops, that is also called an ellipsis, at the end of your blurb so that it will keep the readers wanting to know more about the book. Next, do not spill any twist from your book because then it will be less interesting for the readers to buy your book. Next, you can add details about your character or even some mysterious problem from your book in order to make it interesting. Lastly, make sure to give your end or in the blurb a little bit twist by adding a suspense, maybe a drama, or a suspenseful question. In short, your blurb must leave your readers wanting to know more about the book. So that's all that we will be discussing for today's class. But before we end up, let me just revise back the class learning for today in some very few key points. Firstly, a blurb is a description of the story, not the whole story. Secondly, it is found at the back cover of a book. Thirdly, it aims to get the reader interested to buy the book. And fourthly, make sure to use a question mark or an ellipsis at the end of your blurb in order to keep it interesting for the readers. Now, before we wrap it up, I want to give you an activity so that I will be able to assess your today's learning in the form of your writing, and you can also put it into practice. Firstly, I want you to imagine as if you're going to write your own storybook, and for that, I need for you to make your front book cover. Draw and choose any topic that you want to, be it from any type of book, be it folktale, fairy tale, whatever it might be, it's okay. Make it interesting, make it colorful and attractive, and also give it a suitable title for your storybook. Secondly, and most importantly, I want you to try and give an attempt to write a good blurb for your storybook that you just designed. It's okay if it does not come out well, but I want for you to give it a try. Make sure to use the tips that we have discussed in today's class so that I will understand what you have learned through today's class. That's all for today's class. I hope you take care and stay safe until we meet in the next class. Thank you.